Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Terrain Studio. I'm your host, Sean Morris. Today on the Terrain Studio, I'm just going to give you a little walkthrough. I was going to do a pictorial update, but I thought I might get you guys an update now, and then I'll get you guys another update as we get closer to the end of the month. So just keeping apprised of what's happening in the Hobbit project. So basically what I have laid out here is kind of the evolution of all the tiles right now, right from needing toppers to toppers loosely located to topper secured to topographical formations being cut in to hobbit hole placement. So effectively what we have going on right now is this whole row right here is laid out in the loose topographic configuration. So this is going to be the pond down here, or the front edge of the waterworks here. These hobbit holes are going to be placed along here. This one's actually not in the right location. This one's going to fit right here. And then we're going to have another one that's going to go right here and another one that's going to go right there. I'll pop in the imagery for that so you can kind of see what that formation. My apologies for the shadow. It's kind of an overcast day here and my window is just kicking in some deep shadow right now, but that's going to flow up there. There's the back side of those hobbit holes, so they'll just get really subtle gradients, and that'll kind of give you the mound there. I cut out the road that was going to go here, so this will be more of a goat path going through, a little bit of a steep rise there, plateaus, goes up into the cart, the Gandalf trailway here, and that's going to kind of trail down off, and so it is kind of cut in to there. So there's a few undulations happening there. It's coming out of the landscape, cresting there. There is a rock wall that goes along here. Again, I'll show you the image up in the corner just for the imagery of that. And so it's a little bit of a steep rise, general incline, a little bit of a steeper rise, longer run, wall, and then up to bag end, and then bag end's been loosely cut in. Again, there's all those pieces. None of those are glued. These are all actually secured already with the exception of this tile. And so, like I said, they're just glued in place. And then each subsequent layer, I get a little bit tighter as we go. So it doesn't really matter about side gaps or anything like that. Everything just gets a little bit tighter as we go. Sculpt-a-mold obviously being the next layer, and then the grass and things that gets added after that to slowly and incrementally hide those seams. As you can see, we do have blue tape sort of on these tiles, and really what that's doing is the tops have been secured, and I just loosely lay that on so that they don't move, and that I can ensure that I get really tight fit. So when I take that off, again, I'm not pressure fitting that. I'm just loosely laying it over so that when I peel this tape off, I'll just see if I can get an edge here. Of course, I can't get an edge there. Let me see if I can get any of these. Jeez, I wish I wouldn't have cut my fingernails yesterday. Would have helped out for this demonstration. There we go. So when I peel that off, you can see really nice holds. Peel another one here, and again, really nice holds. So that's just that contact cement that I use, that LePage 2-part contact cement. So these ones are all done. They're all ready to go. That one down at the bottom doesn't have a topper on it. Through here, all the tops are either cut or ready to be glued down. You can see that I put the middle struts. All of these got a middle strut in, and the purpose of that, with the exception of that one, would actually goes there now I'm looking at it. And I'll explain to you in a second why that one doesn't have it. But this middle strut right here just makes sure that when I put that top on, I got a ton of support in the middle, so there will be no deflection or deformity through the middle there. Jumping back over here, you might have saw when I gave you the preview, there's an end cap that's off here. The reason that I did that is I wanted to actually, or decided to put all the electronics and such in the end, and then we're gonna feed that up through to get both the lights as well as the power pack and the switch. And so I just decided to do that there so that I could get the top secured. So that should be fine, and I could punch up through this location here, both into the hearth, and then I can reach in and get into that location as well. So that is what I decided to do to get all the mechanicals hidden, and then I'll just make an end pressure fit cap here that'll be hidden cosmetically on the end. So that's what's going on there. So Basically, this started off, like I said, those crude boxes, then we went with the struts in the middle, then the tops, and then what I'm doing is I'm loosely laying in these landforms. I cut them all, shape them, and then I started to glue them down. The next is going to be actually to shape these through. So that'll be done with a series of knife, hot wire foam cutters, sanding blocks, and then we'll really get that nice undulation through there. So it's gonna kind of get geometrically less and less sharp edges, and it's going to get more and more sort of natural flowing landforms as I work through. So over here, you guys have saw and looked at some of the images. Let me just, I guess I can flash them to you here. So this right here, this featured photo is what we're looking at to go into this location here. So there is Gandalf's cart. It's going to flow down through that way. The wall is going to go here, and then there's a little bit of a back retaining wall, and that's why that's so sharp right there. Flowing up to the door, you can see we got this little walkway that carves down. That'll actually carve down here, and so we'll have that. And then we got a little bit of a nice flow there, and that'll be those doorways there. So that's what we got going on. You guys have seen the interior, what we're going to do there. Let me grab this other photo. This one right here we used for the pond, and then the 3 hobbit holes with the, you can see the mounds and the chimney and then bag end way at the top. So if you can use your imagination for a second and we pull this away, there we have it. 1, 2, 3, flowing all the way up to bag end. Slide that back in there, 1, 2, 3. Flowing up to bag end, and we'll obviously put some of those other features in and along the way. We got the big party tree right here, and that's actually going to be slightly located in this area. I mentioned before that this box is actually going to go here, so really what it is slide this one out, grab this guy. Just realized when I was doing that, I think they're roughly the same height. We'll put that in there. Go bango, there we go. Yeah, so they are the same height, but the reason that we're going to go this one here, and I don't think I have the template, but what we had in the imagery, if you remember back, is we actually have a pond as well, just a small pond here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to build up the bottom, probably about a 2-inch landform here, and then the topper that goes on, I'm going to actually cut the pond shape out of that. And then what's going to happen, we're going to have a hole in the topper, but it's going to have a new bottom there. So what I'm going to then do is sculpt out that bottom. And when I pour the resin's actually going to sit inside, so recessed into the tile, without having to build up any artificial mound or anything. So looking at it topographically, there'll actually be a pond that's sunk down into the tile. Unlike this one, which we actually want to have the water edge being cut right through. So it's going to be kind of a unique look. The pond will actually be sunk in as it should be, as it would be in nature. And that's how we're going to achieve that. I'm going to sink that down, cut that box out, and then I'll show you how to then form it up later. So if you guys are interested in working with resin or doing water effects or all those little things, or even how to cut a recessed pond into effectively a flat shape, I will show you how to do all of that. That'll be a really great kind of a live build session. I can work through that. So the rest of it's pretty straightforward. What I need to do right now is I just need to finish up the toppers. I need to then start cutting in these landforms. And what I needed to do is I wanted to start at bag end. Obviously that's my high point, and then flow down through. But you can see that each subsequent piece really has a story to tell and an area to dictate as you work through that flow. So the very next thing I need to do is build up obviously the next tile to that height, and then have that flow through. And we're going to have party tree here, so we're going to have basically a flow that goes across as well as down, and we want to get right down to this front edge, which is super important. So that's kind of the update on the table. Like I said, it's kind of all over the place because as this is drying, I'm cutting this. As this is getting cut, I'm waiting for that to set up. I'm gluing that down. A host of other things happening along the way. I also cleaned up the shop, by the way. Sliding over here, what I wanted to talk about was Jace has been bringing me things back and forth, and I wanted to bring these over to the table because have a look at these plants, folks. So these are the Gamer Grass 3D, laser cut plants that come pre-colored. just look at how fantastic the vegetation is. And so we have a plethora of plants. This is not even all of them that are going on the project, but this is certainly a good amount, and you can see the variation that we are going to get within the table. So on the table itself, we're going to have these sort of color splashes. Now, it's going to get a little lost in the landscape, but what we have is about 13 hobbit holes, and the hobbit holes to me are going to be splashes of color. So right here, again, going back to looking at that little photo, each of the hobbit holes kind of has that, you know, that if I look at this photo, they stand out, they're unique, they got a little bit of a narrative going around each of them. Obviously here's Bag End, and you can see those color splashes in the vegetation. We are going to do similar throughout the project. So 13 sort of little inhabitant areas with a nice splash of color. This is all of the grass tufts that are pulled out for this project. So you can see there's like over 50 types. In that we have the colors, we have yellow, we got purples, we got reds, we have light greens, dark greens. This is just the flowers. Then we have this is the shrubbery, the tiny tufts, the main color landform there, and then some sprinkles of either browns or a sort of off green, some olive greens there. So kind of the one-offs, the color palette, the tiny tufts, the shrubbery, and the flowers in addition to all that vegetation. So we have a ton of stuff to get on here, guys. So there you go. You know, a quick 10 minute, 12-minute update on what's happening. I'm going to continue to plug away, probably get a little bit more done next weekend, and then February I got another whole run up, a really nice stretch of time to get plowing through this. But once you kind of have to fundamentally understand that the progressive set of setting up the landform pieces to be ready to do this is a lot of the work, because you have to do the edges separately, then you have to glue in the middle beam, then you put the topper on, and then when that is done and you get all 24 done, all 16 done, then you start cutting each of the landforms. But you can't just go ahead and glue everything in place. You kind of have to dry fit, tape fit, then do the next one, then do the next one. And then when you feel you got this run done and you now have it lined up here, then you can go ahead and solidify that. Then you move on, then you move on. And then that is just one other step. And then you go back and you start to carve. And when you start to carve, you really start to get the look and the feel of the table. So we are not far off, kind of getting a nice little flow here. And then once that happens, sculpt and molding this. I have sculpt and molded this amount of surface before. It takes about 2 people, if you can get a second person, about 12 to 13 hours to do the whole thing. I will be doing it, and I'll be doing incrementally, which is fantastic about sculpt and mold. You can really pick and you can start and stop, which is great, which is unlike other things. And because this has so many unique elements, we're going to be able to find those start and stop points, which will be great. The hobbit holes are going to get made as well. So right now they're all templated out. They got little features on them. You know, they are so small, by the way. So they have little features. We're going to fit all those in, make sure that they fit the part. And then once all that's done, that'll be really nice, because then I can start making the blanks for those and then start fitting in the landforms around that. So that's part of the process. So they're not just going to be taped on like that. That's just the rudimentary sort of footprint, and then from that they'll get fleshed out, they'll get identity, they'll get built out. We'll obviously do some scratch building videos for you guys as well, if you guys want to see some scratch building with styrene, foam core, etc. We'll use a little balsa in there just for a little flavor, as well as some foam features that will harden up a little bit, and then use a little bit of paste to harden that even further. So a ton of stuff to come. Hopefully you guys are okay with the sort of the midterm update, which is I think really easy for me to do. If you have any questions, make sure you're asking them. I love answering those questions. If you guys are on the tier 3 and have some meeting time scheduled with me, make sure you guys hit me up. I will gladly set aside time and we can chat your project or any ideas or questions you may have. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.